In this video, I'm going to show you how to sample drums from your vinyl into your MPC Live and make drum programs. Check it out. Alright, welcome back to the video. So the first thing you need to do is go ahead and make sure your turntable is plugged into your MPC Live. So if you look up here, I have my ATL LP60. It's an automatic belt-driven turntable. It has the phono cables that come out the back of it, and it can go into your MPC Live here. So let me go ahead and show you that. If you look right here, we got phono inputs. So you go ahead and plug your turntable right into those inputs. And once you do that, you make sure this switch right here is on phono, and you make sure your record volume is at a decent level, and you set those levels in your MPC Live using this knob right here. Alright, so go ahead and plug those in right there. Alright, and go ahead and plug your speakers or whatever you're using to monitor in. And I got my power cable in. Alright, so now I'm just going to go to an empty project. So whenever you start an empty project, it automatically starts a drum program here. So I'm going to rename this drum program Vinyl Chop 01. Okay, so that just renames it for me. And then I'm going to go to Menu, Sampler. So now I'm in the sampler. Alright, so from this point, you basically want to make sure your levels are set. So you don't want your levels too low, and you don't want your levels past 0 in the red up here. So if you're in 0 into the red, it's going to give you like a red line, and you're going to know that it's clipping and it's going to make it distorted. Alright, then you want to set your inputs right there. I'm going to pick input 1 and 2, and then you would pick mono or stereo. For the sake of this particular video and example, I'm going to record the record into mono. This way the files just take up less space in there, and there's nothing I really need on the different channels, right and left channels. All the drums are pretty much centered on this particular recording. If you want to monitor it, you can monitor it right there. Alright, so now once that's all set, you're going to push arm right there, and that's going to start the recording once it starts getting an input. So whenever I push monitor there, that basically enables you to monitor the input through your headphones or through your speakers. So let's go ahead and push play on this and go ahead and get the levels here. Alright, I've already pretty much set the levels, but I just want to show you what they look like. So when I hit play there, it's automatic turntable. It's going to go ahead and push start. You're going to hear right there. So you can see the levels are pretty much right on the edge there. Alright, I'm okay with that. You just don't want them overly clipping, and you don't want them like way down here at -30. Alright, you want a nice strong signal. Alright, so another important thing is to make sure your max length is long enough to include the entire drum break. So this is set to 1959, so that's the maximum amount. So I'm just going to stop it manually. Alright, so now we got the level set. We're ready to go ahead and record this sample. I'm going to arm it. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and push record, okay, and then I want to start the turntable. It's going to put that in position there. All right, and then all right, I only need a couple seconds of it. If you want to go ahead and audition it, you can audition it here, but there was a lot of silence at the beginning of that sample. I'm sure it came out good. So what I'm going to do is save it. You know, we can name it whatever we wish. Okay. And check this out. I'm going to go ahead and put that on that vinyl chop. And I want to assign it to bank B, pad 1. Keep it. So we recorded our drum sample into the MPC Live. So that's all step 1 right there, okay? It's getting the sample in there. And I want to say that this is just a way to do this. This isn't the definitive way to do this. Everybody has their own way of doing it. I'm just showing you one way to do this. For this particular example, I'm going to do it this way. So the sample is in there. It's in the MPC. So if I go to menu right here, sample edit, or I could tap right there, sample edit, you can see all that silence there. Okay. So the first thing it takes you into right here is trim. All right. Which is actually a good thing, because now you can trim this sample. You can get rid of all that empty space there. Okay, and I want to show you this. If you go to your Q link right here on the last one, you can actually zoom in using that Q link, which is what I like to do. You see what I mean? Now that sample is right there, you could kind of zoom in right there on your start point. Okay, get it pretty close. You can get it pretty close. You can zoom in on your end point. Now you saw when I touched the end point, I was able to zoom in on it. Let me show you that. If I push start, I can zoom in on the start point. If I push end, I can zoom in on the end point. You can set your box here as well, and that's going to take you to the start or end point. And if you're on the start point, you can use this data dial to kind of go ahead and move that start point. But if you zoom in, the more you zoom in, the more detailed it's going to be. So if you zoom all the way, you can see right here, it's moving by samples of 2, okay? But if I zoom out, it's going to move by much larger increments. See? All right. So you can basically get that pretty close. Now I want to show you this as well. If you push this 0 snap, it's going to snap the start point to where the sample, the wavelengths on this middle line here. That kind of keeps it from popping or making any glitches like that. So if you want to listen to that, so that's the start point instead of this, where you got a bunch of empty silence. All right, you can see it's playing. All right, it makes it to that. So, and I actually want to cut some of those points off on the end there too. Zoom into that. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I think that's all we need for this example. So let me go ahead and get as close as I can to that last little section there. All right. Select the start point, zoom back in, make sure we're pretty close there. Pretty much right on the money there. So now what we could do is go to process, and now we can discard the beginning and the ends. You can see discard, trash bin, do it. Gets rid of those beginning and end parts that we were not using. So now this is the entire sample. All right, so this is much more manageable. All right, we're not using that whole sample and taking up all that room in the RAM. We're good to go, okay? So that's what we got there. All right, so we got our sample recorded, we got it trimmed. So now if I tap right there, we can go to chop. All right, if you just want to be super lazy about it, we could go to threshold. You can see it puts the chops automatically. We could go to shift, we could go to convert, and you go ahead and make a new program that way. All right, I don't want to do it that way, because when you do it that way, it doesn't always get the transients where you want them or need them. It does pretty good, but you usually have to go in there and kind of slightly change them. So what I want to do is add slices manually. So check it out. Okay, so we got here, we got our start, we got our end. I want to add a slice. You can see it changed that S to a 1. I'll show you that again. Right now, we got a start point. It's one sample. We got the start point. We got slices on all right here. All right, and that's pretty much our only option here. You can see it says slice all. So when I add a slice, you can see slice positive. It changes it to a 1. You can see all went to slice 1. Okay, so we got all and slice 1 there now. All right, so let me go ahead and do this. Change this little playhead here, add a slice, move the playhead, add a slice, move a playhead, add a slice, playhead, add a slice, move the playhead, add a slice, move the playhead, add a slice, move a playhead, add a slice. So now we got 8 slices for the 8 different little drum hits that are in this particular break. All right, and then you can see right here, I have all the slices linked. So I can unlink them or I can link them. So for this particular example, I want to link slices. All right, this way, whenever one sample starts and ends, wherever it ends, the next sample is going to start. This way we can get as much of that sample in there as possible, okay? So now we have these options, okay? We got all and then 1 through 8. If we go to all, that's the whole sample there. And then we go to slice 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can see how it selects that slice whenever I go through here. Okay, so I want to show you that. I want to go ahead and go back to 1, zoom in on 1. The start point should be good on 1 because we already trimmed it. I'm going to go to the end point. Okay, zoom in pretty good there. And then whenever that one ends, number 2 is going to start. All right, so here's the first sample. All right, so that's the first sample. So that's pretty good there. I'm going to go ahead and tap the second one. All right, so wherever that one ends, the third sample is going to start. So someone right there is probably good. Number 3. And we can hear the next sound starting to come in. So I definitely want to bring this back. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure my box is on the end right there and turn the data dial back. That sounds pretty good right there, I think. All right, so then this is 4. All right, so you'll notice if I just leave that on the endpoint, I could just change the endpoint. Boom, boom. 5. Just change the endpoint. So then 6. Sounds pretty good. 7. Sounds pretty good. And then 8. See where the start point is on 8. All right, so that's pretty good. We got all our chops in there pretty good. There's no weird clicking. And I'm going to go ahead and use all of these samples for this drum program. All right, so we have 8 slices. The start and end points are right on point. We could go ahead and make this into a program now, or basically assign these slices to the program we already created. All right, you can see when I push shift, we have a few different options. So I'm going to go ahead and select slice 1. So I can do that, select slice 1, or I could tap the pad right there. All right, so a lot of drum programs are set up a certain way where you got a bass kick and a snare and a hi-hat, bass kick, snare, and hi-hat. I'm going to go ahead and kind of use that format for a basis of this program. Now you can see right here, if I went ahead and converted this to a program, pad 1 is going to be a snare drum instead of a kick. All right. So what I want to do is go to shift, convert. All right, we got a few options here. So I want to use the same particular program. Basically what I want to do is go assign slice to pad. All right, and so what I want to do is add it to pad 2 right there where snares are. Do it. So now when we go to main vinyl chop, and when I tap that pad, that should be a snare, and it is. So that's exactly what we were looking for. So now we got empty snare. See? So if we go back to menu and sample edit, all right, let's go ahead and pick the second sample or the second slice. So we got our slice 2, which is another snare. Now that particular snare, what I want to do is make this strip right here of pads snares, because there's 4 different snares in this break. All right, so that's a good snare, but let's find a kick. So we got a snare, snare, tom, snare, kick, hi-hat, kick, snare. All right, so we got 2 different kicks. You can hear one's kind of flatter and one's more accented. That's kind of flatter. That one's got a little bit more of a kick to it. So I'm gonna make snare and bass drum 1 a little bit more mild. So I'm gonna use this kick. So if I go to shift, convert, I'm going to go ahead and put that kick on pad 1, assign slice to pad 1, do it. So when I go to main, we got that right there. So I'm gonna go back to menu, sample edit, okay. Then I wanna put a hi-hat right here. All right, I want to put it on that pad, so we got to find the hi-hat, which is right there. So I'm going to go to shift, convert, pad 3, do it. So got that going. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and go back to my sample edit. Now I'm going back and forth like this so I can show you that I'm actually doing something. You don't really have to go back to the main every time. So basically now we got our bass, snare, hi-hat. So I want to do bass and snare right here. So I actually do want slice 5 to be on pad 5. So I'm gonna go shift, convert, assign slice to pad 5, do it. All right, then I'm gonna find a snare. I think this snare is kind of brighter and more accented. All right, so the first kick and snare are kind of flatter. And then my second kick and snare, you can hear it brighter because basically they have a hi-hat in there and there's just more accented. So what I'm gonna do is use that second one, go ahead and go to shift, convert, pad 6, do it. So I got my bass, snare, hi-hat, bass, snare. All right, so I have 3 more samples. I haven't used these 2 snares yet. So I'm gonna put these 2 snares up here so that way this row is all snares, okay? So I'm gonna assign this one, shift, convert, pad 10, do it. And then this last one, shift, convert, pad 14, do it. All right, so basically we have all the slices loaded. Now the last one is this one, our tom. So I'm going to go ahead and put it right there. So I'm gonna make sure I have that pad selected, shift, convert, put it right there, do it, okay? So now I should have 8 different sounds loaded up in here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm gonna put this on full level. So basically we got a full drum kit going. All right, so it's sounding pretty good. So the next step I think is just to kind of fine tune it a little bit. All right, so if you listen to this hi-hat right here, you can hear the hi-hat, but there's also some kind of like clicking underneath it that was in the actual song. We could kind of edit that a little bit if we didn't want that there. So if we go to menu, program edit, it's gonna take us over here. We can go to filter envelope right there. All right, so we can kind of edit this in a couple of ways. The way I'm going to choose is to basically, if you look right here, if we got the amp envelope, we got an attack, we got a decay. So when we tap that, and then we can move this back. So I move it back all the way. It shortens that sound up. So basically we can mess with this until we get it to where we want it. So if you keep tapping it, so it sounds a little bit cleaner. Now you can see that I brought it back all the way and you can still hear that click. It's subtle, but it's there. But if I actually wanted to kind of get rid of it completely, I could tap right there and then I can mess with this. Pull the decay back. Now when I make it that short, you really can't hear it. All right, so that sounds pretty good, but what I wanna do is I wanna copy that pad over. So whenever I hit copy right there, it brings up this window here. So I can tap on there, put it onto that pad, do it. So now I have that hi-hat on 2 pads. All right, so at this point, they pretty much sound the same. But I'm just gonna mess with the cutoff filter here and the filter here. So what I'm gonna do is change it maybe to a high pass, because I kind of just want to get a different sound. So I have 2 different sounding hi-hats. All right, and I'm going to pull the cutoff back a little bit. Kind of opens it up. And then I'm going to push the reso up. All right, and there's a certain point, you know, just put it up a little bit right there. Now you can hear that this hi-hat's a little bit lower. This one's got a little bit higher sound to it. That's just to get, you know, kind of a different sounding hi-hat in there. All right, and then we got our kick drum here. Now you can hear the hi-hats in there as well. I could kind of filter that off a little bit. So we got the low pass on there, and then I could pull the cutoff down, pull it down. You could already hear the difference. I think right there is pretty good. And then I'm also going to mess with the amp envelope here, so it kind of fades off a little smoother. I think that sounds a little bit better. I think that sounds pretty good right there. Then I want to mess with this one right here, this snare. Going to do the same thing, kind of filter off the top a little bit, so it's not so bright. And as well, I'm going to mess with this decay right here. On the attack decay envelope, I'm just going to pull the decay back. Maybe pop over to this one. Now you can hear the drums are now a little bit shorter, a little bit punchier sounding. Now, of course, this is all user preference. You could filter these things out and mess with the envelopes however you choose, but I'm going to keep these as is for now. All right, what about this one? Maybe put a little bit of filter on that. Make it a little bit flatter sounding. All right, this one as well. I'm just gonna pull these decays back a little bit. This one as well. And this one. All right, so I'm just trying to give you an idea of a way you could kind of shape your chops up. You don't have to use just the sound as is. You could kind of filter it. You could kind of mess with the amp envelope. You could actually put effects and stuff in here if you wanted to. You could layer them up. But for right now, I'm going to go ahead and keep this as is. So here's basically the sounds. So what I want to do now is basically I got all the sounds how I want them to sound. So I'm going to go ahead and flatten the pads. So if you see right here, there's a square and then there's a arrow pointing down. Tap that, it says flatten pads. All right, so I can select whatever pad I want. So I can select this kick. All right, and then I can put an audio tail on there. I don't need an audio tail, but if there was like some reverbs or delays, I could put an audio tail on there. Just gonna leave it as is. I wanna name this kick vinyl 1. Do it. And now whenever I click do it here, you can see how all these have changed back to normal, but the pad still sounds the same. And then another thing that happens, if you look over here, the sample's only that long now. This sample is only that sound, but if I tap over here, that pad actually has that entire sample on. So whenever you flatten a pad, it makes a new sample. So whenever you flatten a pad, it does a couple things. Basically takes that slice and makes it its own sample, and it takes your filter envelopes, your amp envelopes, anything that you do to that pad, and it converts it. So then you could go and mess with your filters again and do whatever you want and keep, you know, shaping your sound how you see fit. All right, so what I'm gonna do is go ahead. All right, you can see the decay and the filter cutoff are different. So whenever I flatten this pad, I'm gonna name this snare vinyl 1. Do it. All right, no seconds on the tail. All right, and then I'm just gonna do it. Okay, you can see it reset. The cutoff's back to 127, decay's back to 6, but the sound's exactly the same. So I could do the same with this hi-hat. All right, you can see the amp envelope, so I'm gonna flatten the pad. I'm gonna name this hi-hat vinyl 1. Do it. Do it. Boom. Everything's reset. All right, and then if you come over here, all right, you can see now these 3 samples are shortened, and then these 3 are still the original chop right there, or the original break. All right, so what I'm gonna do is just keep flattening them. Flatten. All right, so this is the last sample here. Going to put Tom vinyl. All right, go ahead and do it. All right, so now everything is flattened. So now keep in mind, we still have that original sample over here, and you can see that. So if we ever did want to go back and make different edits to the original sounds, we have the original source material right there within the program. All right, so now that everything's flattened, I want to go ahead and normalize everything. All right, so if you go to menu, sample edit, click in there, go back to the top, go to the first sample here. So check this out. If I go to shift If I go to processed, all right, I can tap into here and we got different options, okay? And you can see right here it says normalize, select normalize, click do it. That's going to expand that hi-hat. You can see how loud that hi-hat's going to be now. Really loud. All right, and then I'm going to do that with all the samples. So right there, shift, process, do it, and you can see I didn't have to select normalize that time, it was already there. So it kind of makes the process pretty quick. All right, and just go through them. Boom. Process, do it. Process, normalize, do it. Process, normalize, do it. See what I'm saying? You just keep going right through them. Process, do it. Process, do it. Process, do it. All right, and this is the original sample. So all the sounds have been normalized. Therefore, when we go back to main and play this program, everything's going to be really loud. All right, so as we saw, all the sounds were normalized, so they're at maximum velocity. So let me just show you this. You can hear how ridiculously loud everything is. So if we go to menu here and then we go to the pad mixer, you can see pad mixer, go into the pad mixer, everything's at 0 still. So we can go through here and very easily select our pads and set our levels. So if I tap right there where that kick is, it's selected here. So all I have to do is turn the data dial, okay, and kind of bring the level of that down. Same with the snare, same with the hi-hat. All right, so if you listen, it's a lot better, right? Bring it down even more on that hi-hat. All right, so you can always go back later and kind of change these levels if you like. So I'm just going to go through and change all these levels now. And if you remember, this one was really quiet, so I'm just going to back it off a lot. And then we got our tom right there. Bring that one way down. So you got. All right, you can see it's starting to sound pretty decent now. Now, if you want to really take it a step further, you remember we went ahead and made it mono. We can actually tap in here and set the pans for some of these. Because if you think about a drummer, okay, we're like this. So the hi-hats are going to be panned like this or like this. They're going to be more on one side or the other. And your toms are going to be going around like that. I'm not really going to deal with that, but just to show you can actually do that from here. So if you select that hi-hat, tap in there, I could pan it over. All right, just to kind of give you an idea that you could actually do that from here. All right, so now that we got our level straight, we can do a few more things here. If we go ahead and go to menu and we tap right there, that's going to take us to our pad colors. We got it on classic velocity by default. What I can do is kind of change this. So whenever you load up a kit, you might want to have your drums a certain color, your snares a certain color, your hi-hats a certain color. This way, you know, you can kind of train your brain that those sounds are related to one another. All right, and you can pick whatever you want. I'm going to go ahead and make my kicks green. So to do that, I can, you know, pick these options here. I can do bright velocity. Let me go ahead and click that, bright velocity. All right, I could tap green, tap my kick, tap my kick. So those are gonna show up green right there. All right, if I want my snares blue, tap blue. All right, tap all those pads. So now all of my snares are blue. All right, if I want my hi-hats orange, hi-hat, hi-hat. All right, if I wanted my toms red, tap red, tap the tom. And then if I wanted to, I could go back to my B bank and just put this a color. This way I know that there's something. So I know that that sample's on there whenever I load it up. All right, so there you go. You got your pad colors laid out. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to main. So here's this program, Vinyl Chop 01. This is what it sounds like. All right, so here you go. You pretty much, at this point, have a complete kit. You have a complete program. So what you can do is if you tap right there, you can see we can save current program. So I'm going to tap that. That's going to take me over here to my internal programs. I can save it there, which is fine if you want to have like a backup, but I would recommend saving it to your SD card or something of that nature. I got my SSD in here, so I want to tap into that. I want to tap into my programs. I want to tap right here into my vinyl programs. Okay, and then you can see right here, I could name it whatever I want. If I wanted to change the name of it, I could do that. But for now, I'm going to just save it Vinyl Chop 01. Tap in there where it says save. All right, so now I'm going to be able to recall this program in any other project that I load up. All right, so if I go to Shift, Browse. All right, if I go to here, that's actually a shortcut to my hard drive. So if I go there, it's going to take me to my hard drive. I can go to my programs, vinyl programs. There it is, Vinyl Chop 01. You can see I have the program selected here, but if I select that, that's going to show me all the different samples in there. So I could actually take these samples even and load them up into different programs. All right, so that's why I went ahead and flattened all the pads like I did. It's going to go ahead and enable you to pick these sounds and put them into any drum program that you want. And then if you look down here, we still have that original source file. Okay, it says Vinyl 1 right here. So that's the original source file. We could bring that into any program that we want to in the future. All right, so if I tap load, okay, it says the samples exist. I can replace them. So if I go back to main, all right, so here we go. I'm going to go ahead and record a basic drum sequence so you can see that you can actually record with your drum program. All right, so there you have it, A to Z, recording vinyl into your MPC, making a drum program, and sequencing drums. All right, so I am working on a video series, and basically what I'm doing is starting from nothing and showing you step by step how to use the Mpc Live. So if you click the card right there, that's going to take you over to that video series, so you could go ahead and start from the very beginning and learn the basics about the Mpc Live if you are new to it. This video is kind of an intermediate video. That series is going to start you off completely at the beginner level. Okay, so go ahead and check that out. And if you enjoyed this particular video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up below. Remember to subscribe to my channel, click the bell icon, and you'll be notified whenever I come out with new videos. All right, I'm definitely going to do more videos about the Mpc Live. And to all of my subscribers and all of my supporters and everybody who leaves a comment, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. I do enjoy reading the comments. If you guys weren't watching this stuff, there would be no reason for me to go ahead and upload these videos. I would just learn it and make music on my own. But I appreciate that you guys can actually watch this and learn something and kind of, you know, leave some comments about ideas and different comments about the Mpc Live. So thank you for that. All right, cool. My name is Matthew. Continue to create, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.